the GOP on the verge of breaking one of their cardinal rules, increasing taxes? A group of congressional Republicans have been reportedly floating this idea of jacking up taxes on the wealthy, raising that tax rate from 30 to 40%.
The proposal came from White House staffers who had been quietly pushing it. But President Trump initially signaled he might be open to it, but he shut that door quickly, telling reporters Wednesday that an income tax increase would be very disruptive.
Our next guest vehemently opposes increasing any taxes, warning that it will cost the GOP in 2026 and beyond. Joining us now is Grover Norquist, president of Americans for Tax Reform and the author of The Pledge, a written commitment that every politician is invited to sign, vowing to oppose any tax increase. Thank you for being here, Grover.
Absolutely. Good to be here.
So I think you were quite concerned probably to hear this rumor being floated that a tax increase was being considered. It sounds like President Trump has signaled that will not be the case. Why was anyone in the Republican fold even considering this idea that I think you and I agree is very anathema to the GOP, the most fundamentally anathema to the GOP?
There's always somebody who knows they can get coverage from the establishment left in the newspapers for an idea if it undermines the modern Republican Party. And there are some people who just want to blow up the Republican Party. And most of them are Democrats, but in the White House, they're not missing completely. To give you some idea how central not raising taxes is to the modern
Break out
Republican
the prop.
Party.
We love the props.
We do, right here. This is who runs the House. This is who runs the Senate. This is 1932. Franklin Delano Roosevelt comes in. This yellow line, 1994. 62 years, Republicans won Congress twice, okay? Once under Truman, once under Eisenhower. This is a one-party state. Congress runs the country.
It's Democratic rule. Yeah.
Democratic rule. The presidents can slow things down by vetoing them, but they can't make anything happen. They start wars, they have scandals. That's it. And this line right here is after George Herbert Walker Bush won the election saying, "I'll never raise taxes," and then broke his promise and threw away a perfectly good presidency that he'd inherited. In 1994, 96% of Republicans signed the pledge never to raise taxes. Bush had signed the pledge, but he broke it. Other people said, you know what? We're taking it, and we're never, ever, ever breaking it. Since 1994 until today, who's run the House and Senate? 18 years, Republicans have run the House and the Senate. 6 years, 1/3 as often, the Democrats have. Over here, Democrats always. Over here, 3 times more likely the Republicans have it than the Ds. As the party that won't raise taxes, they're competitive. And the Democrats want to go back to here, and you have to be a truly stupid Republican who's paying no attention to the electorate. These guys are, I'm a populist. Well, then this might be a big hint about what's popular. If you're really a populist.
So what's your message to Republicans that think maybe a modest tax increase will actually help reduce deficit? Because that's the whole conversation about what Elon Musk is here for, to reduce our deficit.
Well, you can remember when Reagan was talked into a tax increase for $3 of spending cuts in 1982. The deficit went up. Spending did not go down $3. The spending went up. Taxes went up, but spending went up, not down. Reagan got cheated. You think you're smarter than Reagan? Then Bush came in 8 years later, and he said he was a cheaper date. We'll give you $2 of imaginary Confederate dollars in spending cuts for $1 in real gold tax increases, and he took that deal. Spending went up faster after the deal than before. Not just went up rather than down, went up faster than before. So the idea that raising taxes helps you reduce the deficit is not true. What has happened is when you cut taxes and you have growth, if you can hold spending down, as we did under Clinton, Republicans took control of Congress, didn't let Clinton spend what he wanted to, we actually balanced the budget. We cut the capital gains tax. That was helpful.
Holding spending down does seem to be the difficulty because you and your group have been very successful at getting Republicans to mostly stick to the no raising taxes pledge. That's a promise they've broadly kept. The promise to do something about spending, my eyes roll out of my sockets whenever I hear a Republican say we're going to do anything about spending. It goes up as much and then some under Republicans, right?
Here's the cheerful news. These are the 50 states. In the red states, the Republican states, they are phasing their income taxes down to 0 and first to a flat rate tax. So they're the 8 states, the green states, that have no personal income tax. The yellow states, single rate tax. Easy to cut. You just say we're cutting everybody's taxes. Very difficult to raise. Illinois, run by Democrats, 2/3 supermajorities, they have a constitution that says you can only have one rate, can't have graduated rates. Their tax is under 5%. They're not up with New York and California because even the left-wing Chicago Democrats can't raise taxes if they have to take on everyone at once. So what are the states doing to phase their income taxes down? North Carolina started it, but Louisiana's passed a law to phase their income tax to 0. So has Mississippi. North Carolina's gone down to going down to 2.5. Kentucky and West Virginia passed laws to phase down to 0. How? They say we're limiting spending, and when taxes poke up above that, you don't get to spend it. It goes into a permanent tax cut. So by meshing, phasing the income tax down with spending limits, you get both the spending limit and there are 12 states now that are beginning the process of phasing their income tax down to 0. So the states are showing how you do it, and I think that's the best way to explain it to Washington.
How do you explain Nebraska, which is a government?
Nebraska, okay, yes, Nebraska. There is one state where the Republican governor is trying to raise taxes. He started by saying, I'm going to do like Iowa. Iowa took their personal income tax from 8.6 down to 3.8, cut it in half in 5 years. Their corporate rate from 12 down to 7. Great governor, great legislature. Nebraska's sitting next to it going, we should do that. And then for whatever happened, the governor there is unsuccessfully trying to raise taxes a little bit. I think we'll stop him. But every other Republican governor is cutting taxes, and most of them are either at 0 or going to 0. This is the future of the Republican Party. Where do congressmen come from? State legislators. Where do presidents come from? Governors. 2/3 of all the governors have signed the pledge. There is no future in the Republican Party for someone who wants to raise taxes. And Trump not only drove a stake through the heart of this a couple of days ago, he did it again yesterday. So he has twice, he said, just to make sure this thing doesn't get off the floor and walk again, he did it again. He said, this is stupid politics. When Bush, George Herbert Walker Bush, raised taxes, and he raised taxes on rich people. The top rate was one of the things he raised taxes on. The ad that was used to kill him was from Clinton, and everyone should watch it. And it says, Clinton goes, you know what this guy did? He raised taxes. He's a jerk. He raised taxes. And you know what? He's for cutting taxes on rich people. So he hit him with both. You're a tax increaser, and he still accused him of wanting to cut taxes on rich people, of cutting taxes on rich people. So you can raise taxes all you want all day, and the Democrats will accuse you of not raising taxes on rich people because that's all they've got.
Well, how do you counter the argument to Democrats that tax hikes would help fund popular programs and help reduce inequality? I mean, how do you counter that? There's some things that actually are helped by increasing tax.
Well, if you raise tax rates, I mean, some taxes are more damaging to economic growth than others. If you raise the top rate, if you raise the corporate rate, you actually slow economic growth and you get a bigger deficit, not a smaller deficit. When Reagan cut taxes, marginal tax rates, by 25% across the board, we raised more revenue than was projected. When the corporate income tax under Trump was cut from 35 to 21, they raised about $100 billion more each year from more growth, more wealth being created. So with lower rates on the corporate rate, we actually raised more money than was projected under the old rates. And the same thing with the individual rate, particularly during the Reagan years, the cut was so dramatic. We need to continue on that path of reducing rates to get growth. Growth is the way to reduce the deficit because, among other things, it gets more people working, so few people on welfare. It gets more people working, more people paying taxes, more revenue, less spending. It's the way to go. Anything that damages growth gets you away from reducing the deficit.
And Trump has surrounded himself by so many business people who clearly understand that, Elon Musk type people, the business community really getting behind Trump. On the other hand, there are some people in the administration, some creative thinkers in Republican circles these days who have a, I would say, anti-growth or even degrowth agenda. We see that a little bit with the trade policies that have been recommended by folks like Peter Navarro. Is Trump going to get, I would say, hoodwinked? But there is a strain of this on the right that thinks growth is not the end-all be-all.
Actually, Trump is very serious about economic growth. He speaks to that. He explains that's why he's doing things. He thinks his tariffs will get there to help negotiate to do better. The argument he's making is a pro-growth argument. which is we're going to end up with lower tariffs at the end of the day because of the negotiations. Okay, that needs to be worked through. But on tax rate reduction, on the corporate rate reduction, he has made clear this is about growth, this is about jobs, this is about higher incomes. You want to see how much good was done with his, our website, atr.org/list. We have a list of 1,200 testimonials from the press where press is reporting new jobs created because of the Trump tax cuts from 8 years ago, more higher pay because of those, and they're from all 50 states. So if you want to find out in your state who was doing a press conference saying, we're hiring more people, we're paying people more because of the tax cuts, atr.org/list is a really good list to remind you of how powerful tax cuts are for growth, jobs, and reducing a deficit.
Grover Norquist, thank you so much for joining us today.
Good to be with both of you guys.
We appreciate it. Up next, RFK Jr. moves to make your favorite candy, popsicles, and even sports drinks more healthy. Stay tuned.